Can I beat Risk of Rain 2 first try on MONSOON difficulty?
Oh, bollocks.
No I cannot. Can I beat Risk of Rain 2 at all? Now that's another story. Hello internet and welcome to Risk of Rain 2, a third-person roguelike with a very unique mechanic. As you play, no matter what you do, the difficulty slowly increases with time. Every enemy you kill, every chest you loot, every precious second scales the difficulty. So, the question remains, can I beat Risk of Rain 2? In Risk of Rain, I can play as many different characters, although I only have 2 unlocked for the time being. Each character has different abilities they can use. I started with Commando. The game begins with your character landing in a pod in an unknown land. Enemies immediately approach. All you can do is fight back with your weapons and abilities.
Kill this guy before he kills me. Oh, that was a big old laser beam.
Eventually I learned I need to leave and find things. However, exploring would also uncover some dangers.
Okay, we got ourselves a bit of a fucky-wucky here, boys.
As you saw in the intro, this first run would not be kind.
Oh, bollocks.
But I'll try again. With past experience, I left the starting area much sooner and found myself some equipment.
I can fly! Okay! Oh, activate teleporter. There we go.
Now, time to face the boss.
Oh, that looks like a bad thing. That looks like such a bad thing.
Unsurprisingly, I died.
And I'm up here. And I'm dead.
So, attempt number 3.
Boom! Ground zero. Let's get this done.
I'll save everyone 29 minutes. I definitely took too long on this one.
Oh, God, and I'm dead.
I finally decided to lower the difficulty. Starting out pretty normally, taking down enemies, getting money, and farming for items.
Give me money, money, money. Pew, 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 pew. Yep, meant to dodge that fireball. So there's teleporter.
But first, more loot.
So let's clear out to this side first. Let's go get some loot.
Spoiler alert, this was a bad idea. 5 minutes later...
So now I run the fuck away. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this, dude? What is this?
Not starting the teleporter until 9 minutes, and activating a mountain shrine, I got completely swarmed by enemies. This took over 10 minutes.
This one's almost dead though. Like, I actually would now prefer to get that one dead than survive. Because if I can't get it dead now, then I'm fucking wasting my time. With the other one. Never mind, I am dead.
So the run started okay, but looking back on it, I definitely took way too long, and then got stuck with a teleporter boss that I couldn't take down quickly either.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. Let's see what we can do.
Speeding up the pace, teleporter at 6:13.
Okay, and now I get the fuck out of here. Just in case it's big laser beam boy. What the fuck is that?
Starting the teleporter event early was really paying off. But, still naive to the importance of time, I waited ages before activating it.
Complete a teleport event.
Wasting a couple of minutes looking for loot. My first time entering a new stage.
Okay, hello. I have arrived in a new place. Oh fuck, it continues the difficulty from where we stopped before.
Despite wasting some time, my items were still decently strong. This allowed me to survive to the teleporter.
Oh, it's this guy again. Hello. Yeah, no, I'm fine with this.
And defeat the second giant jellyfish. Suddenly, in one run, I'd made it 2 stages further than ever before.
This place is looking nice. Lootings! Hello! I'm here to get your lootings!
It seems like I'd built up some good momentum with powerful items, as I'd made it to the teleporter once again.
I made a huge mistake. I made a terrible, terrible mistake. He's faster than me. He's so much faster than me. I think this is around fuck floods.
I thought, but with ninja skills, somehow this happened.
I wonder if I can get him to just like fall out the map or something maybe?
Time was not on my side, but gravity was.
That's ridiculous. Did he die? I think I might have a chance now though.
Having struggled with the boss and wasted time, I looked for loot and got really lucky with this dagger.
Look at me! I'm geared up! That guy's big and beefy, and does not take much damage. That guy's a fucking huge worm! What the fuck?
Stage 4 would not be easy.
My man is in the fucking ground. Not cool, bro. You're hard to hit, and you're annoying as fuck.
But eventually, I took down the giant worm, and he disappeared into the wall. However, 40 minutes in,
Ow.
Zone 4 won.
I died? It was going so well, and then this place just wrecked me. I do have a new character, though.
It had not all been in vain. I'd unlocked a new character. However, not being used to their abilities, I didn't survive long.
OMG, new guy. Let's give this guy a try. Oh, jeez. That does so much damage. Okay, good.
Seeing how much damage I could deal, I started to like this character.
Oh.
My old enemy, the Stone Titan. A boss I hadn't managed to defeat yet. However, could the Volcanic Egg and the Bandit take down this formidable foe? Yes. Yes, they could. In Stage 2, I activated the teleporter, and another Stone Titan emerged. I definitely got a lot more beaten up in this fight.
Okay, let's not be there anymore.
But I used some sneaky tactics.
Now we do the oldest trick in the book. Go around the back.
Without even realizing my character does more damage from behind, I took down the Stone Titan with a burst of damage.
Well, I already parked.
Stage 3 would prove to be challenging. And here, I would meet my new arch nemesis.
What in the fuck are those? Oh my god. That's not good. Holy fuck, I just got obliterated.
Mixing things up a bit, I decided to try out the Huntress for the first time. However, facing up against that good old jellyfish friend, that didn't go too well. A Bandit run got cut short for the same reason. So it was all down to a runner's commando to get to later stages. With the Wandering Vagrant spawning in for a third time, this would be the make or break. Did the commando survive against the jellyfish that had taken me down twice previously? Yes, Stage 2 completed as well. But would Stage 3 be as easy? I managed to activate the teleporter. Then, the Imp Overlord spawned again. Last time, I only managed to take this guy down by making him fall off the map. This would be a real fight. I did plenty of damage to the Imp Overlord, but he did more to me, and I fell. A blast from the past. My next run was cut very short by a pair of Stone Titans. And now, even as Commando, the jellyfish proved too much. At last, a battle against a Beetle Queen would see me to Stage 2. Another Beetle Queen battle would see me to Stage 3. But then, the thing I feared most. My arch nemesis once more. Swarmed by enemies and blasted by explosives, I died. Was this it? Had I been relegated to dying to the bosses in the first few stages? Or could I finally triumph and get further in the game? Taking down the Stone Titan, a little faith was restored. I didn't notice at the time, but at the top, verified. Completes the first teleporter event 5 times. Initially disappointed by a very effective jellyfish explosion, I would soon learn what verified had truly meant. Dropping in as MUL-T, I started to practice with my abilities, seeing what each of them would do. Initially, I was thrown off by this new moveset. However, the real test would be in the boss fight. Another Wandering Vagrant, the same boss that had defeated each of my other characters. MUL-T wasn't dishing out burst damage like the others, but could also take quite a hefty blow, and, despite the challenges, was victorious in the fight against the jellyfish. I entered a mysterious blue portal and found myself in a very strange place, with no enemies. There seemed to be some kind of interdimensional shop, but I was new to the game, I didn't have their currency. So, it was time to leave. In the desert I improved my power. But, would it be enough to fight my new arch nemesis, the Clay Dune Striders? As a more tanky character, I was able to survive more effectively against this enemy. Despite sucking me in and trying to lifesteal, I finally managed to defeat the boss. And in Zone 3 it was the exact same story. Another Clay Dune Strider. I managed to find a way to cheese the boss, hitting its head but being out of range. And this allowed me to demolish the boss. Siren's Call, Stage 4, somewhere I had never been before. I was entering uncharted territory, and the enemies were getting pretty strong. However, unlike my last time in Zone 4, I was playing MUL-T, and with some powerful items, I was actually surviving quite well. Up until now, I was confident, but then, Magma Worm. This was not a teleporter boss I wanted, but fortunately, I had some volcanic abilities of my own. A fat stack of war banners and some ATGs, along with plenty of defense, meant that even Stage 4 boss monsters couldn't take me down. This was it, another milestone. My first time reaching Stage 5. This stage would be unlike anything I'd faced before. large amounts of tough enemies, many airborne, were constantly chasing me down. And then there's this guy. I don't know what this enemy is. All I know is that this enemy is. That this enemy is freaking huge, an absolute colossus, and is the biggest thing I've seen in this game so far. I knew this wasn't the final boss. It didn't even have a boss health bar. But I decided that even if I couldn't reach the final boss, I was determined that this enemy would fall. Piece by piece, I chipped away with my rebar, sniping from long range. Consistent long-range damage was essential. The enemy's attacks were ominous, powerful, and I constantly had to retreat to heal up. Very slowly, but steadily, I was dealing damage, and the health bar got lower and lower, until the final shot took down this foe, and they disappeared. A little underwhelming if I'm honest. I searched the area where they were sitting. I expected some kind of item or anything, but alas, just this weird fiery lump. Refusing to give up, I went on fighting, but having spent so long against that Guardian, I was now up against some very strong opponents. Eventually, MUL-T fell, and the run was over. All had not been lost. Empowered with the success of MUL-T, I set out as Bandit. A day had passed since the MUL-T run. I'd been doing my research. I knew as Bandit that I deal extra damage from behind. And with this knowledge, the Beetle Queen fell. In Zone 2, I was up against a Clay Doomstrider. Previously, my most hated opponent. Now, nothing but a mere mortal. A legendary dropped early in Stage 3. But would that be enough to face off against the most challenging opponent so far? Until now, I had never defeated an Imp Overlord. But that was all about to change. To finish off Stage 3, I also used a cool trick. Just before finishing the teleport, I collected a piece of treasure. Then, in Stage 6, I was able to carry this over for a head start. By now, Stage 4 wasn't a brand new experience, which means I managed to make it to the teleporter again. Another Imp Overlord. Wait, no, 3 Imp Overlords. Wait, no, 0 Imp Overlords. For my second time in Stage 5, I had another big glowing enemy to fight, but this one was nowhere near as tough as the last one. Ah, the irony. The boss I'd fought last time, except this time actually the boss. Also, damn, I am dishing out damage even with my back turned. Somehow, this was the easiest boss fight so far. It was showtime. Time to enter the final stage and fight against the boss. No pressure, but this is the make or break. The boss is all the way up there, but before I can reach the boss, I have to charge 4 pillars. Much like the teleporters, they create an active charging area and spawn in a bunch of enemies. Annoyingly, the red one damages me over time as I charge, while others, like this Pillar of Design, have other effects such as pushing me away, a mechanic that would be very annoying and cause a very close encounter while trying to fight off enemies. All I had to do now was charge the Pillar of Mass, which is painfully slow. With the pillars charged, these giant jump pads activated, which could launch me up to the arena, way up at the top. Here was the arena. I ran around the outside, noticing my drones hadn't followed me up. I was trying to attract them, seeing if they would move. Eventually, accepting they weren't coming with me, I ran towards the center, where Mythrix spawned. The final boss. Ah, and there's my drones too. This fight was very intimidating. All that stood between me and victory was this one opponent. With relative ease, I managed to take down the first stage. But I wasn't done yet. Now, many enemies stood in my way, and they all dealt a hefty amount of damage. Luckily, my utility made it easy to tactically retreat. As I fought, I learned that each of these enemies counters an entire boss, achieving Blockade Breaker in this run. Eventually, all of the smaller enemies from Stage 2 were defeated. Unfortunately, this means Mythrix now comes back with a vengeance, providing more speed, more aggression, and more damaging abilities. Oh, and also some of those small enemies show up sometimes. As Mythrix jumped back to the center, I finished off a mob. Another one spawned right in front of me, just as Mythrix went into a huge attack. This completely threw me off. I got hit twice and died. I was so close. And yet I'd managed to be defeated. God fucking damn it. There's no two ways about it. I'd taken a fat L, and in this next run, dying to the jellyfish once again, the same was true. But, just maybe, a chance for redemption. A new character, Engineer. Focused around a playstyle of deploying turrets, this would be a very different experience. An experience that undoubtedly improved by getting the Sormarang. Time to get revenge on this wandering vagrant. My turrets did plenty of continuous damage and the Sormarang finished it off, allowing the engineer to taste the waters of Stage 2. I found the teleporter without any issues, but spent a little bit of time looting first. Will-o'-the-wisps, Willow, baby, that's a powerful ability to get. And this Clay Dune Strider was about to find out all about it. I got a little up close and personal with this very close proximity shield, but it certainly did the job and the Dune Strider blew up very quickly afterwards. Another one bites the dust. These turrets proved to be extremely effective. I placed them down and ran off ahead to look for loot. Meanwhile, they did all the hard work. Brilliant. I have to admit, this boss really caught me off guard. I have never seen this thing before. I was basically just spamming it with all my abilities until I got launched in the air, sent down to 1 HP, but got to watch the fireworks from up here. I guess I won though, which is cool. A blessing in disguise, being launched up here meant I actually had quick access to more of the loot, allowing me to teleport out faster. Having watched a YouTube video, I knew how scrappers worked and threw in all of my crowbars. I was then able to use the scrap at this 3D printer so that it would take my scrap items instead of just random ones. Very good for picking and choosing. I came across a Clay Dune Strider just wandering around. These guys are normally boss material, and here it is as just another one of the enemies. I left my turrets to do all the work, and found a healing drone as I went off exploring. As I approached the teleporter, I managed to get a legendary, before setting up some turrets and activating the teleporter. Time for another boss fight. The Stone Titan got obliterated. A Golem Ghost Buddy helped me charge the teleporter, and then it was on to Stage 5. Apart from getting yeeted off the map by a huge boulder, most of Zone 5 just involved searching for more loot. Fortunately, the boulder knocked me towards another legendary. I found the teleporter, but left it behind in favor of a fight with some very elite monsters. Here is where things get interesting. I rejected the idea of going through the teleporter. I'd seen a YouTube video about a secret teleporter under Stage 5. By entering a certain code and activating it, I could create a teleporter to a secret boss encounter. So, all I had to do now was figure out how the heck this thing actually worked, which took a little bit longer than I expected. But eventually the portal opened. Inside, a hidden realm and a hidden boss fight. These yellow artifact keys were essential to completing this encounter, as they allow me to initiate each stage of the boss fight. I can only damage the enemy in the center with an artifact key, something I didn't really know as I kept shooting at it. The importance of this encounter is that it unlocks an artifact I can use in any run, which allows me to manually select whichever item I want. And that functionality is going to be very important in the next run. A swarm of enemies dealt a lot of damage, and I got worryingly low, but managed to run through the shield to safety. Annoyingly, each time I used one of these keys I got launched backwards, which threw me out of the world. But with one last key I took down the artifact boss, and also got launched out the world. I collected the artifact and completed the Trial of Command. After completing the trial and heading out of the teleporter, I'd looped all the way back to the first zone. I'd never done this before, and unlocked an achievement for it. Stage 6. Having powered up substantially, I initiated the teleporter. 3 Stone Titans. Interesting. I dealt with all 3, and entered the next stage. On Stage 7, things got hectic real fast. Lots of enemies, and taking lots of damage. Initiating the teleporter boss, it was time for another fight, which was undoubtedly a very chaotic encounter, but seemed to be going in my favor. And before too long, the final boss fell, and all I needed to do was charge the teleporter one more time. It was here, at the teleporter boss of Stage 8, that things just went a little bit too crazy. 1 Imp Overlord. 3 Imp Overlords, totaling 4 and completely destroying me. I'd made a bubble shield around the enemies I was trying to defend myself from. And there, the run ended. I'd unlocked the Artifact of Command. Deciding to pair this up with the Bandit, I clicked ready. Let the games begin. Open a chest, get some loot. The rarity is the same, but the item can be selected from a menu. To begin my kit, I went with Crit. And by the time I was fighting the first teleporter boss, it was all I had. Needless to say, this gave me a lot of damage. Stage 1, Completed. Nice. As the run progressed, my power grew. Finding the teleporter, I dove straight into the battle once more. The stone titan was no problem. With the power I'd accumulated, I nuked this guy, despite being targeted by the laser. In this large chest, I found a legendary, and with all the power that I'd been given, I didn't actually know the items well enough to know what to pick. I went with the big hammer. What could go wrong? I noticed the teleporter was way on the other side of this void, but having just picked up a Hopoo feather, I managed to make my way across. Just. I kicked off the teleporter and prepared for another boss fight. The Imp Overlord spawned and immediately took a nuke for 2/3 of its HP. Then, with my slightly overpowered setup, the rest of its HP fell as well. The power I'd built up allowed me to nuke even the toughest of enemies. And the teleporter fight would be no different. The first Clay Doomstrider fell very quickly, but I still had a second one to take down. Needless to say, this one was finished off quickly as well. The elite enemies of Stage 5 were tougher than the Stage 4 opponents, but I was stronger. With Zone 5 having been nothing more than a true flex of power, I was confident I could take the final boss, and began the teleporter event. Double magma worms were quite chaotic, but also took a lot of damage with my setup. So much so that I took this one down without even aiming at it. It was time to finish this once and for all. The enemies here were certainly tougher, but that didn't stop my OP abilities taking them down, though I did take some damage in the process. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough mobility to skip all the way up to the boss fight straight away, so I would have to complete some beacons. The enemies were no problem to fight off, but this would take valuable time and make the enemies stronger, including the final boss. The last two beacons were right next to each other, and because they deal damage whenever you're close by, they charge really quickly. Not only did they charge quickly, but with 10 stacks of tougher times, I was only taking 40% damage. And only a minute and a half after reaching the third beacon, I was up and ready to fight the boss. This was it, Mythrix. If I couldn't defeat Mythrix now, I had no chance in a normal randomized run. While I couldn't nuke Mythrix the same way I had with the teleporter bosses, I had plenty of mobility to stay out of reach and deal plenty of damage in the meantime. After lots of shooting, Mythrix ran at me and I took him down, or at least beat the first stage. The enemies of Stage 2 took a lot more damage than Mythrix, meaning this stage wasn't too much of an issue. There were still lots of them to take down, but eventually they all fell, and it was time for Stage 3. As I fought against this robot, as the Bandit, in Stage 3 of Mythrix, I couldn't help but think back to how I died last time. I was even just finishing off this robot as Mythrix went into this big attack again. But with more power, the robot was already dead, and I could focus on dodging the attack. I'm not exactly sure how, but my power took me by surprise. Mythrix's health disappeared. He went back to the center, and it was time for Stage 4. This is where I had the most concern for the run, as I just had all of my items taken. But fortunately for me, Mythrix is very weak in this stage. And after dealing some damage, I got my powerful items back as well. From here, it was just a case of nuking him down as much as I could, and the boss fight was over. I'd done it. I'd actually beaten the boss. The last thing I needed to do now was escape. The moon was about to detonate, and I needed to get back to the ship ASAP. Despite all of the chaos going on around me, I had plenty of mobility to navigate the environment. Having defeated the boss and having all of my powerful items, I even decided to stop by and fight some of the enemies. And here it was, the final step. All I had to do was stay in this area, charge up the ship to 100%, and I was free to leave. Needless to say, with all of my power, I ended up succeeding. And that answers the question. Yes. Yes, I can beat Risk of Rain 2 at all. Just, again, not the first time.
Oh, bollocks.